Another day, another video. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to go into part 2 of how we trade US session. Basically, we're just going to go over some more examples because I trade the exact same thing every single day. So these videos will get boring, but trading actually is boring. You do the same thing every day, and that's it. That's all you have to do. So, without further ado. So there is no candle lit by my side today. So it's going to be a depressing one. No, I'm joking. But looking at the screen, I say every single video, I say this exact same line. The red candles indicate London and Asia session. I'm only interested in the support and resistance zones that London and Asia produce. If we are looking for buys and Asia session and London session have created a support zone or a resistance zone in the case of buying, then I can use that as a target. I don't use it for entries, I just use them as targets and potentially where I can move stops to break even. However, the beige candles indicate US session. If I'm trading US session, I only use previous US session highs and lows to get my entries. I'm going to go through an example like that today, which is on your screen already. So what do we do when we come onto a day? Free Discord below and you can see my daily analysis. But if we draw out the highs and lows of previous US sessions, that's basically all we do. And then with this indicator, again, the settings are in my Discord, but with this indicator, they stick out like sore thumbs. You have different colors, but you can immediately say, if we scroll back, oh, this was US session. Oh, this was US session. Oh, this was US session. This was London and Asia. But do we care? No. We only care for the support and resistance zones that London and Asia session produce. So we're looking back on the day and we use the 30-minute and the 5-minute time frame because I like to keep it as simple as possible. The more time frames you throw in and the more sort of structure you try to find and overcomplicate, the harder your trading is going to be, and then you're going to hop strategies until you eventually quit. So basically, find a strategy you like and stick with it. And do your own testing. My strategy, we use the 30-minute to find our zones, and we use the 5-minute for entries and potential targets as well. But again, we will go through that. So what do? We come into the day and we see this. We use the 30-minute time frame because it keeps it simple. We're going to be in a trade in a day, right? I want to be in a trade 4 or 5 hours, right? Well, ideally 2 minutes, but day trading, you're in the trade in that day and you're straight back out of it the same day, right? So I don't need a 4-hour time frame. I don't need a 12-hour time frame to tell me what's going to happen today. I need a 30-minute time frame, and then I can judge the zones from there. For example, if we look at this chart, we can say, okay, look, we've broken above here. So if US session opens still above this zone, I want to wait for a tap in, a valid reaction from the 5-minute to take price higher. If price decides to completely melt through and break the structure, which is the key point, break the structure to the downside, we would take price lower. That's it. That is pretty much it. If price were to break this level, where could you use your targets? The zone isn't drawn accurately, but we could use the high from the 5th of September zone as a target. Now, because I believe we are pushing all-time highs at this moment, we would use our chasing up strategy, and we use that on the 5-minute time frame. So basically, now that we have our zones, and it's as simple as that, and again, you can see on the Discord, it is really that simple. I go through my daily analysis every day, and it's pretty much the same sort of thing. So you're waiting for, if price does this, I want to do that. A lot of you will look at a 4-hour time frame and say, well, look, the 4-hour is bullish, so surely we're only going to be taking buys today, just to find out that it was sells. And you were caught out in a buy just because you trusted the 4-hour for some reason with your life. So many people trust the 4-hour time frame like it was God's given gift. But I never understood it really personally. And I've adapted my strategy to basically playing the market and not just assuming something's going to happen. You actually read the market and say, look, this has happened, so I want to do this. For example, like I said, if price came below here and tapped back in, I want to get into sells. If we hold it above this zone, I want to be into buys if we get a tap back in and a valid 5-minute reaction candle to take us back to the upside. I do not by any means want to be into sells from this zone because price has already pushed too high. So I would only want to be looking for sells if we broke that structure from the previous US session low. If we broke that structure, got a tap back in, and to take the price further down. That's the only way I'd want to be in for sells. So let's now jump to the 5-minute time frame. Now, I haven't actually gone back on the 5 minutes, so hopefully we do get a valid reaction. So we get a tap in here. Now, we're simply waiting for an engulfing candle, which you can see here. Now you can say, well, it didn't really engulf the zone. For example, this candle, let me just get the tool, this candle right here. It didn't engulf this one, no, but our rule is if it engulfs the previous one, then I'm good to go. I am ready to take this trade. Where would I put my stops? Below the bodies, below the wicks, and below the zone. Now, because we're at all-time highs, where would you target? Now, we would use our chasing up strategy. For one, a good example here is using the previous London and Asia session zone, for example. This one right here. You could use that and say, look, if price tapped up into here, I want to be break even, or I want to just take all my profits out the market and be done with the day. Or you could say, I'm going to take some profits out the market when we come to this level, or you could use the chasing up method that I will show you. So if I just delete this arrow here, and if I delete this bad boy right here, and we just jump to the 5 minute, if we just play price along, let's see how I would manage it. So we have our zones here. Now, as soon as you have a structure point here, now on the 5 minute, this is going to be our structure. Well, what would you do at this point? Simply just move your stop loss underneath this structure to break even. So you'd be break even, and the trader's pushed into 0.6%. Now you'd only go break even here because you could say, well, if price pushed past this point, then surely we'd be then going to sells. It definitely increases the chances of you getting stopped out if we start breaking structure to the downside. So all I want you to do, if we form a structure, for example, like this on the 5 minute, by all means feel free to move to break even because we've had that structure, and then the argument can be made, if that structure has been broken, that is when you can start predicting that you are going to get stopped out because the price has stopped, moved and broken structure to the downside. Anyway, carrying on with the trade because now we've broken above the previous highs. So now what can you do? You wait for certain structure points. Don't go to the 1 minute and do this. Wait for 5 minute candle structure points to form before you move any sort of take profit. Stop loss, sorry. So you see price push up here, and you could make a good point of saying, well, look, we're at all-time highs. I'm in good profit here. I could chase it up, or I could just be done for the day right now, and that's it. Because it's a rare occasion that we're at all-time highs. So you could just form, okay, look, I'm not going to be greedy today. I'm just going to take profit for what it is, and you could take money out of the market. But if you were watching it, you could wait for structure points to happen. For example, I would say, let's go back one right here. I would argue, and if I was watching it, exactly what I would do, I'd say, okay, well, this is a structure point. If we break below this, then by all means, we could be getting stopped out. So I want to move my stops to here, and that would have been a 1.5 risk to reward. Again, if you're risking 2%, you've just made 3% like that. However, let's say you didn't want to do that, and you can see price starts coming all the way down. So the importance of chasing structure on the 5 minute time frame when you're at all-time highs is very, very important. If you have clear targets in mind and we're not at all-time highs, and you actually have a target for a previous US session high, then by all means just target that and wait for some sort of structure to go break even, for example, like we had down here. But when you're chasing all-time highs, make sure you move your stop loss up with the 5 minute structure point, and it just saves yourself from any sort of potential reversal that could happen. But I'm not going to bore you too long. I think I've done enough of that. There will be multiple parts to this. but this is just one example of what you can do. So thank you so much for watching.